I'm Weston. I love talking about the Jets, and I'm finally here to do a Jets video. It's been a hot minute. And the Jets finally played. They played week 1 today against the Carolina Panthers. They lost 19-14. But I take this as a win, to be completely honest with you, because there were things that made me happy and things that gave me a little bit of joy. Not in the first half, certainly not in the first half. Anyway, so, what went down today exactly? Well, first half was basically a nightmare, if we're being completely honest with each other. The Jets start the game with possession, and I can only describe it as PTSD-inducing, because the first drive for the New York Jets was just, it was textbook Jets gonna Jets. They got one first down, and then a penalty that was declined, another penalty that was accepted, a sack where I think it was Coleman, or it might have been Johnson, just completely left the pass rusher. And when I say this, I'm genuinely as wide open as possible to just come in and crush Zach Wilson. That was a big theme today. For some reason, tight ends and running backs today just shows, hey, you're supposed to kind of block for your quarterback. What if not? And then the drive ended with an incomplete pass that hit Michael Carter directly in the hands. And look, I know everyone says this about everything, but I genuinely, from the bottom of my heart, mean it when I say I think I could have caught that ball. There were so many passes today that were just completely dropped by the Jets receivers through the first half. Occasionally in the second half, it was a rough day for Jets receivers where they would have the ball put pretty much right in their hands, and they would just be like, I got it! No, I don't! It was kind of infuriating. There was also a few missed calls. I'll talk about those in a bit, but refs are in mid-season form already. It's great to see. But the drive finally ended with a Braden Mann punt, and it was a really good punt. It was like a 56, 60-yard punt thereabouts, and you go, oh, wow, that's a really good punt. And last year, everyone kind of complained that Braden Mann was a little, overhyped because he was a bit rough last year as a punter. But hey, maybe he's ironed out the kinks. Maybe he's going to be a great punter this year. And then the next possession happened, and you realize the Jets can have no nice things, because Braden Mann punts, he gets blown up by a Carolina defender, really messes up his leg, he limped off the field, and somehow it's not a penalty for, and I mean the completely obvious roughing the kicker. I don't know how that wasn't called. I would really appreciate having it explained to me, because that was roughing the kicker. Roughing the kicker is when you hit the kicker as a defensive player. He hit the kicker as a defensive player after the ball was kicked. I don't understand how that wasn't a penalty. Maybe I'm a homer, that's certainly possible, but I was just kind of sitting there slack-jawed like, oh, you're not calling that. Okay, neat. The second quarter started with a lovely Zach Wilson interception, the first of his career. We knew it was going to happen eventually, ladies and gentlemen. It wasn't even that bad of a pass, if we're being honest with each other. It wasn't, great or anything. I don't think anyone's going to, argue that. It wasn't a good pass. It was rough, but it wasn't, that bad. I honestly was like, it happens. I wasn't frustrated or mad. I was like, yeah, well, that's about right. And the Panthers would get a field goal out of it. Yippity-doo-dah. It happens to the best of us. But the first half was really just sort of a nightmare. A little bit later on, there was a touchdown pass from a turnover on downs. I want to take a moment to talk about this because it's very important to me. I think it has to do with the fact that I'm broken mentally from the past few years of the Bulls and Bulls and Gase were here for 6 years. Half of my time as a Jets fan has been Todd Bowles and Adam Gase as head coaches. Oh my gosh, that's a sad existence. Anyway, they weren't really. I know that the Gase tagline was the offensive guru, but here's the spoiler: he wasn't. And so most of the time, if there was any call, like a fourth down, it would just end up being nothing. They would just punt, even if it was 4th and 1. There were a few times this game where Robert Saleh basically just said, screw it. It's 4th and 1. Go for it. I believe he went for it on 3 different 4th downs and converted a pair of them. I do my very best to keep this channel PG, but balls of pure titanium from Robert Saleh today. And honestly, he was super pumped up a lot during this game. He looked angry a lot at the refs and the other team. There were points where his blood vessel in his forehead was pulsing so hard, I thought it was going to burst and he was going to bleed out on the sideline. He had passion, he had excitement, he was fired up, and maybe it's just from the fact that the last two coaches have been so comatose that any show of emotion makes me get excited. But I mean, it was a different breed having Robert Saleh there. He was just fun today to see on the sideline getting pumped up, and some really gutsy calls, like I said. There were more than a few of them. It was that. There was another couple of fourth downs, like I said. Again, the fourth down didn't work here on the 4th and 1, but I'm happier that it was a 4th and 1 that didn't go our way than if it would have been a punt that would have drawn them off sides, because at least with this, I don't know, at least you show fight, you show the want to win, like at least you show, you're at least showing up, Gase. Like it was refreshing that they went for it on 4th down, but other than that, the first half was a nightmare for the Jets. Like I said, there was the deep 57-yard pass to Robbie Anderson from Sam Darnold, which, that's ironic, isn't it? That is just kind of ironic, if we're being honest with each other. A little bit later, there was another touchdown where Sam just ran up the middle and scored. That made it a 16-0 game, which was pretty sad. Honestly, the first half of the game was kind of awful. Like, legitimately, watching the first half of the game with the undisciplined plays and unoriginal plays, I felt like when I entered the sports bar to watch the game, I walked through some, like, portal that transported me to a different dimension, and this dimension is one where Gase isn't gone, and he's still, for some reason, the head coach. That's what it felt like through the first half, and if they hadn't occasionally panned over to show me Robert Saleh, I genuinely would have believed, oh, I went through a wormhole, which, to be honest, over the past 2 years, that was 2020 and 2021, that'd be like the 7th weirdest thing in society if there were just casual wormholes when you walk into businesses. Let's not even lie to each other. That wouldn't even crack the top 10. Who am I kidding? Like, that's so down there. Like, the USA randomly announced that there were UFOs, and everyone was just like, that's neat. Like, if someone said, hey, look at this piece of coral that I found at the beach. Like, no one even acknowledged it. What was I saying? Yeah, the horribly boring play call by the first half of the game by Mike LaFleur, and Robert Saleh. It was underwhelming. I kept expecting to just look over at the sideline and see Adam Gase's beady little cocaine eyes staring back at me going, guess what? It's a Frank Gore run up the middle on 2nd and long. Like, that's all I could think of through the first half. Thankfully, the second half, a lot of things changed. Finally, late in the third quarter, the Jets and Zach Wilson came alive, and it was magic to see happen, really. On the drive, a 20-yard dart from Wilson to Corey Davis, who had a heck of a game today. It was a beautiful dart, right on the money, right where no defender could get it, and Corey Davis was able to. It was a beautiful pass. And then not too long after that, another 7-yard pass. Zach Wilson, shotgun formation. He looked really good today. Zach Wilson had a really nice day. It was magnificent. Little short 7-yard pass, a couple plays later. Keeps slowly trotting the ball down. Then a incredible play. Zach Wilson, 22 yards, down to Corey Davis. Zach Wilson, who was running out of the pocket, escaping the tackler. He throws long downfield, like I said. Corey Davis, a beautiful 22-yard completion for his first NFL touchdown. Connor McGovern was hyped for him. They were celebrating. They were going nuts. And a soul for a soul, which was gut-wrenching. That's my second Avengers reference in like 2 minutes. Anyway, it pans back to the offensive line, and there's someone down. And they are so big, you know who it is immediately. There was no question with how big that behemoth was. You pan back to the offensive line, and Mekhi Becton is down. And I don't know Mekhi Becton personally. Obviously, if I did, I probably wouldn't be here. I'd probably be at the game. But I was kind of, how I saw it, how I interpreted it. Because as he was carted off the field, carted into the locker room, you could see that he was clearly starting to cry. But you could look at his facial expressions and tell that it wasn't pain that he was experiencing physically. Well, I'm sure there was an element of that. But it wasn't the physical pain that was making him cry. he wasn't in pain so much as you could just see the heartbreak and pure sadness on his face, knowing that his season might be over. That's how I took it. I don't know yet. No one knows yet. They haven't done anything for it. There's been no updates to when I'm recording this. But you could see on Mekhi Becton's face that he wasn't brokenhearted because, oh, this is an extreme amount of pain. It was pure sadness for knowing he's going to miss a bit of time. And that was so much harder to see than a person in pain, with the person realizing what just happened and knowing that their season could be completely derailed. Especially with Mekhi Becton working so hard in the offseason, lost a good bit of weight, slimmed down, got just super ready to play. And you know that just has got to break his heart. It broke my heart. It was just sad. And then a play after that, Zach Wilson on the 2-point conversion. Again, gutsy call. Ball's a steal for Robert Saleh. Goes for it. Goes for the 2-point conversion. It was a great play. Zach Wilson just kept it. They parted like the Red Sea, and he just waltzed in. He was pumped out of his mind. Great celebration. Swagalicious. And I'm like, oh, I have that thing called hope, and I haven't had much of that in the past few years as a Jets fan. So late in the fourth quarter, the Jets have one more drive to score where they would get their second touchdown, another pass from Wilson to Corey Davis. But I want to talk about the drive. With about 3:20 left, a really gutsy play call, goes for it on fourth down, doesn't punt. Robert Saleh at this point is still saying, no, there's time left. We're going to try to win this game. Again, gonads of pure titanium from Robert Saleh today. This play was great. It was a nice 25-yard hookup to Braxton Berrios, who pretty decent today. Nothing too shabby there. After that, a 40-yard bomb to Denzel Mims. And he says, hey, guys, I know that everyone's a big fan of Elijah Moore and excited for him. I'm still here, and I can still do things. Great play by him, hooking up, getting a big old gain. Then a play that I think is kind of weird to talk about, but I think was a big positive, which was a sack in the red zone, which you might say, Weston, that's stupid. Why are you talking good about a sack? And I would say this. Zach Wilson didn't try to get out of it. He saw what was happening. It was a complete blow up by the offensive line. There was nothing he could do. He didn't try to get fancy. He didn't throw the ball away. He knew what was coming and just took care of the ball. He didn't do anything that could have potentially messed anything up. He saw what was coming. He knew what to do. He took the sack like a man and held on to the football. It was a play where I was like, okay, yeah. He did the mature thing there and was just like, I need to make sure we can lose some yards right now. That sucks, but it's not the end of the world. I can't lose the football, and he didn't. And then, next play later, Corey Davis, 12-yard pickup, nice. Play after that, Corey Davis in the end zone, Zach Wilson, his second touchdown of the day, second career touchdown. Again, Zach Wilson looked overall good, dare I say. Maybe I'm a homer, I don't really care. He did good today. Corey Davis popped off. I believe 97 yards, if I'm not mistaken. Pair of touchdowns. It was a very nice day for Corey Davis. I want to make sure I'm getting that right and not horribly butchering it. Yeah. 5 receptions, 97 yards, pair of touchdowns. Nothing too bad there. I'm happy with that. Defensively, the defense was bad for the first long while. Christian McCaffrey ate our defense alive, and there's no other way to put it. The defensive line was shaky at best. Michael Carter had a couple of nice defensive plays. There was a beautiful play on like the second or third drive of the day with this crazy good pass breakup. So that's a positive. But it was an interesting afternoon to say the least for the Jets defensively. And then you can also look at the offense, which was not any better. Where to start with the offense? Paper towels is a little too generous. So I'm going to say wet napkins, and not good napkins, like the Bounty paper towel napkins, not those. I'm talking about like the really, really cheap, like hometown mom and pop diner napkins that like you need to get like 50 of them balled up if you want to pick up any liquid on the table, even if it's like a minuscule drop of water. You know the napkins I'm talking about. Everyone knows them. That's a pretty good depiction of the offensive line. Really just anyone who had to block today. Wide receiver, or not wide receivers, but running backs blew a ton of them. Again, there was the Ty Johnson block on like the first sack of the day that was just horrific. He ran right past the guy. The offensive line could not pass off blockers to each other. It felt like there'd be 4 guys going up against 4 Jets. They'd mix up a little bit, and there'd be 3 guys running at the Jets while all 4 offensive linemen were staring at one guy like, hey, I thought you were going to block the other guys. And no, I thought you were going to block. It was essentially that. It was hard to watch. In the first half, Zach Wilson kept putting the ball right on the money, and the receivers would just drop the balls. It wasn't even like, oh, they were getting hit in the chest, and they just went, oh no, I didn't catch the ball. It was, why did I give it an Italian accent? I don't understand what happened in the first half with Jet receivers. It was a nightmare. The running game was abysmal. It was like genuinely, it was just kind of. That's a good reaction to the run game. That's accurate. I'm proud of that reaction. That's about the best way I can describe the run game. It was mediocre. Tevin Coleman averaged 2.7 yards a carry. Michael Carter averaged 1.5, and Ty Johnson averaged 3.8. That's not fun. I don't like that. Zach Wilson had a pretty decent day. 258 yards. That's good. Pair of touchdowns. Zach Wilson's on pace to break our franchise record. Some people might want to try to consider this a bad day. I thought it was a great day by Zach Wilson, to be honest with you. These numbers that he put up, if they hold up at that rate, that would be the franchise record for touchdowns in a season and yards in a season. This franchise is depressing. There was at some point during the first half, while watching the game, that I kind of sat there just like, this is Stockholm Syndrome. Because it was happening again where the offense and the team overall was just inept after a game. I came into it with such hype, and they just looked like nothing. And I'm like, oh, so this is Stockholm Syndrome. I shouldn't be enjoying this or watching this, but I'm here. And again, the first half was awful. The second half was actually pretty darn entertaining. The Jets showed a lot of fight in the second half, offensively and defensively. I think the one thing everyone can mutually agree was great today was the special teams. The punting from Braden Mann before he got injured, hopefully that's nothing bad, was good. Matt Amendola was decent as a punter, as a fill-in punter. I'm not really going to complain. Averaged 48.5 yards. That's not bad. Like, that's actually pretty darn good, especially for a guy who isn't an actual punter. I'm not going to complain. We didn't get to see him kick anything because we went for both 2-point conversions and never kicked a field goal or even tried for one. But the special teams play was magnificent, so I'm going to take that as a positive. The play calling got better and better as the game progressed, offensively and defensively. Robert Saleh had a ton of passion, and as I already said, gonads of pure titanium. He had a lot of gutsy calls that made me excited and showed that he has fight in him. Zach Wilson played great. It was just really the offensive line that couldn't do anything. The receivers didn't show up the first half. And the defense for the first half also just kind of was inept. Honestly, I look at this game and I feel happy. I am positive leaving this game, which I thought about going into the season. I don't really care about the record. I just want to leave the season with some hope and know that they're heading in a right direction. And to be honest, from the first game, the two main things that I wanted to see, which was Zach Wilson and Robert Saleh, both I was impressed with. Both of them, I'm like, you know what? Everything else we can figure out as we truck along. Right now, you guys are the things I'm focused on. I'm happy with both of them. Was it the best game? No, I'm not going to talk about this like it was a win because there were still a lot of things wrong with it. But this is the best loss you can have. I'm not mad. I'm really not. I think there is a very good chance that next week, going into week 2, that the Jets can pull an upset in New York and beat the Patriots. Maybe I'm a homer. That's certainly possible. But that's how I feel. I'm really excited to see next game. It's going to be great. But again, overall, I'm happy with the game. It's not the outcome I would have wanted. I would have loved to have won. But I see how good Zach Wilson did, and I also watched, as I watched the Jets game, I watched the Jags game, and Trevor Lawrence, not ideal. 3 picks today. One of his 3 touchdowns was in garbage time. I think they lost, like, what was the final score for that game? It was a slaughter, to say the least. I want to get the right score, just positive. I just don't want to misquote myself. 37-21. Yeah, that was a slaughtering. So I'm going to take today as a positive for the Jets and hope that next week, going into New England, or going up against New England in New York, we can squeak out a win. Anyway, sorry for the longer, more heavily edited video. This is probably going up Monday, so the day after, so I can get all the editing done. I'm going to kind of do that with the Jets videos. I want more editing done with them because there's not as many Jets games as there are anything else. There's only 17 of these, whereas with the Astros games, they're basically daily, and I don't know that I could put this much effort into them and still have time to, eat. But for the Jets games, I'll make sure I try to put a little bit more production value into them because, they're sort of that special treat of the week almost. It's like the special cake that you only get on birthdays kind of thing. Anyway, I'll be back for the Jets next week, and I'll probably be back for the Astros tonight, which is Monday night, even though I'm recording this Sunday afternoon. Time's a funny concept, man. Anyway, that's all I have to say for the game. Thank you all so very much for watching. I hope you all have an absolutely fantastic day, and as always, go Jets.